You don't have to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth to achieve great things in your life, although it certainly helps. Still, many of today's billionaires had very humble beginnings. Growing up poor didn't stop these CEOs, celebrities, and business experts from reaching the pinnacle of success, and it shouldn't stop you either. Whether you're in need of some inspiration to start your own business or want to learn how to become a billionaire, take a look at how these famous folks made it to the top. But before we start the video, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. At number 1 is Oprah Winfrey. Family wealth isn't the secret to this billionaire and media maven's unparalleled success. Now worth an estimated $3.1 billion, according to Forbes, Oprah Winfrey was born to a teenage single mother in Mississippi. In an interview with Barbara Walters, she talked about not having running water or electricity growing up. By focusing on school, participating in beauty pageants, and then working at a radio station, Winfrey was able to enter the media world. She got her big break in television as a host for the local Baltimore talk show. Later came The Oprah Winfrey Show, which entered the national syndication in 1986. In 2001, taping of The Oprah Winfrey Show, Winfrey shared some tips on making the shift to a wealthy mindset. Quoting the whole idea, "I think of having wealth is not letting wealth use you, but you use it." Being a person who has come from an outhouse and very poor circumstances, I can assure you that the more money you get, it really doesn't change you, unless you are the kind of person who is defined by money. At number 2 is Howard Schultz. Starbucks chairman and CEO Howard Schultz helped Starbucks to become the company it is today, a giant coffee retailer with over 23,000 retail stores in 73 countries and a market value of $85 billion, according to Forbes. However, this successful businessman, who boasts a net worth of $2.9 billion, wasn't born into wealth. In an interview with Dr. Mukund of the Group Executive Council, Schultz discussed his childhood and what it was like to grow up with less. He said, "When I was 7 years old, I experienced something that deeply affected me, that I carried with me every single day, and that is the scar and the shame of being a poor kid living in a government-subsidized house." Schultz said his father became a broke man after working in many dead-end jobs that offered neither money nor respect, but this hardship seemed to motivate Schultz to achieve the success he is today. At number 3 is Ralph Lauren. Known for its polo shirts and high-end ties, the Ralph Lauren fashion brand is easily recognizable. But did you know that there was a time when the iconic fashion designer couldn't even afford the clothes? Ralph Lauren said, "As a kid, I was always into clothes, but I didn't have the money to buy them." Lauren also said to Oprah Winfrey in a 2002 interview, "When I'd get my brother's hand-me-downs, there was an energy in me that made me say, I want to get my own things, to make my own statement." Somewhere along the line, that energy, coupled with exposure through movies to a world I hadn't known, turned into something. That something is now a fashion brand with a market value of nearly $8 billion, according to Forbes. As for Lauren, he's worth a cool $5.9 billion and is considered one of the richest fashion icons. At number 4 is Larry Ellison. Oracle founder and former CEO Larry Ellison was born in New York City but grew up in a lower mid-class community on the south end of Chicago. He said, "I'll never complain again about living in a bad neighborhood after moving from the Lower East Side of Manhattan to a still worse neighborhood on the south side of Chicago." He also said in another interview, "After my 9th month, I kept my mouth shut about the neighborhood." A 1997 Vanity Fair profile of Ellison described his childhood home as a cramped walk-up apartment. Ellison was raised by his great-aunt and great-uncle, who was once successful in real estate but lost everything in the Depression. Although he came from the modest beginnings, Ellison is now a multi-billionaire with a net worth of $61.8 billion, and Oracle has a market value of nearly $183 billion, according to Forbes. Ellison also said, "Everyone who works hard, maybe a little cleverly, has the opportunity to make almost anything possible." And he also said, "That's the American dream, that anything here is possible." Ellison might be a college dropout, but like many billionaires, he has career advice to share. At number 5 is Kenneth Lagoon. Self-made billionaire businessman and investor Kenneth Langone, who helped create Home Depot, had humble beginnings. In a 2013 interview with One Wire, Langone said he had a charmed life as a child, but not because of his material possessions. In fact, his mother was a cafeteria worker. Still, Langone enjoyed an unconditional love, which later helped him get over his failures and not let them bring him down. When you are in the risk-taking business, at the level that I am, not everything you're going to do is going to work, he said. Where you really lose is when it doesn't work and you start being abusive to yourself in terms of your qualities and your abilities. Today, Langone has a net worth of $3 billion, according to Forbes. He said in an interview, "I worked like hell to become part of the 1%. At number 6 is Sheldon Adelson. He is the chairman and CEO of Las Vegas Sands, the largest casino company in America. But Sheldon Adelson had to earn $35.2 billion fortune the old-fashioned way. Born to Eastern European Jewish immigrants, he grew up in a tough neighborhood of Boston, sharing a one-room tenement with his parents and 3 siblings. In a 2010 Nightline interview, Adelson explained how his rough upbringing helped him become a great businessman. "My parents were poor," he said. "When they died in 1985, 11 days apart, they didn't have as much as $100 in their bank their whole life. They gave everything to their children, so I'm not talking from a white shoe background or from a privileged background. I'm talking as someone who wore his skin down on his fingers, trying to climb the ladder of success." To honor his heritage, he has donated more than $50 million to schools in the Las Vegas and Boston areas, and another $50 million to the Holocaust Remembrance Center. At number 7 is Alan Gary. While he has a net worth of $1.4 billion today, Alan Gary grew up in Liberty, New York during the Depression. A frozen food distributor, Gary's father often struggled to feed his family on his salary. Gary later dropped out of high school to serve in the Marines during World War II. He used his Guild Bill benefits to become trained in television repair, and in 1956, he invested $1,500 to start a cable company in his hometown. Decades later, his business evolved to 64 cable systems in 18 states. He sold the company to Time Warner in 1996 for a reported $2.7 billion, including $900 million in personal profit. Gary used his money to start his venture capital funds, Granite Associates, and has continued to give back to the community where he was raised. "You grow up in a country and see that now so much has evaporated around you," said Gary in an interview, "so you try to keep your eyes open and see what needs help." At number 8 is John Paul Diora. Founding high-end tequila company Patron Spirits and hair care company Paul Mitchell Systems turned Diora into a mogul with a net worth of $3.3 billion. In a 2011 interview, Diora, who was once in foster care, talked about growing up poor in the Echo Park neighborhood of Los Angeles. "We didn't know that we were really going through tough times because everybody was going through the same thing," he said. "I remember once in junior high school, on a Friday, my mom came from work and said to my brother and I, 'You know, between us, we have only 27 cents, but we have food in the refrigerator, we have our little garden out back, and we're happy, so we are rich.'" A true rags to riches story. He was homeless twice before joining forces with Paul Mitchell in 1980 to create the billion-dollar hair care brand. He now uses his fortune to give back. At number 9 is Harold Hamm. The youngest of 13 kids, Harold Hamm was raised by Oklahoma sharecroppers who put him to work picking cotton barefoot as a child. The founder, chairman, and CEO of oil company Continental Resources now has a net worth of $10.1 billion, but at the age of 16, he had to take a job at a gas station to support his family. Despite his family's financial struggles, in a 2004 interview with Forbes, Hamm revealed that he drew inspirations from fellow Enid Okla residents. One was a local potter who spoke to Hamm and his classmates at a school assembly. "He had this lump of clay, he was laughing like a baby," Hamm said. It was clear that he did well because that was his passion, his art, and the message was that all of us could do well if we followed our passion in life. At number 10 is J.K. Rowling. In a 2013 interview with the London-based Daily Mail, J.K. Rowling shared her struggles as a single parent before the Harry Potter books turned her into the world's highest-paid author. She said, "I remember 20 years ago not eating so my daughter would eat. I remember nights when there was literally no money. Those days are long past," as the author earned $95 million between June 2016 and the June of 2017, according to Forbes. Now a philanthropist, Rowling enjoys giving back so much that an estimated $160 million in charitable giving contributed to her fall from her billionaire status in 2012. Today, Rowling's fortune is back up to $1 billion, according to the Celebrity Net Worth. So, that's the end of the video. If you have any recommendation for the next videos, please comment it down below, and I'll see you in the next video.